Welcome to the Pizzazz Filmmaker interview series. At Pizzazz, we've made it our mission to help film and video makers succeed. In this series, we'll be speaking to interesting people from across the film industry. We'll gain insight into their journeys to help share their lessons with our audience.
Lizeth Yarleque is an incredibly inspiring filmmaker who decided to give up her career in architecture to pursue her dream aged 32. Listen or watch on to find out exactly why Lizeth made the changes and find out how she became such a successful documentary maker working for media outlets across the globe. Thank you so much for joining me today. I already know it's going to be a really interesting conversation with you. And one way that we like to, start these interviews is by asking our interviewees, in this case you, what's your earliest memory of filmmaking?
Yeah, I have a particular case because I am not, I never actually studied to be a filmmaker. I have a career in architecture. That was my university studies and all that for 5 years, like a normal career. But then it turns out that I was not happy with my career and I was looking for something else. So in between, there were different jobs. I worked also as a logistic manager in one company. And I think that one led me to started to understand myself that I liked traveling and I liked tell stories. I liked pictures. But when I was learning a lot in that company, I was doing that just for myself. And then I just started to do it myself, learning everything from YouTube, buying my own equipment for myself. Everything was self-taught. And that's how little by little I was creating my own, profile as a filmmaker. It took longer than probably other people, but I think it's doing well right now.
No, that's really great. And did you know, even when you were an architect and you had your other careers, did you know that had you always had that passion for film, and you just thought maybe, it couldn't ever be a career? Obviously, you've made it one now. But did you have an interest in film even before?
Yes. The funny thing is, I never realized that until now that actually the projects that I was really in love in architecture was when I was doing 3D modeling and all these 3D stories about the buildings and the architecture and stuff. So all my life have been around digital and also videos and presentation. That was my favorite part in the career. So now that I think back, it was definitely like a way that my brain was telling me go that way. But I just discovered it, after that. But life is like this. So yeah, it just happened at the end.
Oh, that's great. And obviously jumping from the professional architecture career that you had, going into filmmaking, it's obviously that sounds like a jump that for some people would be unattainable. It sounds a really quite a huge change, and I'm sure there's loads of people that would be watching or listening to this interview and they'd love to be a filmmaker and they love to get out of their career that they might find boring or just not for them. But how did you actually, you say you bought your own equipment, but how did you actually make that change and you were able to get from one thing to another?
It was just pure risk. I mean, obviously I had some savings for some years. So all this happened, it started when I won a competition for a video that I made, 1 minute video. And the prize was a trip and 3 weeks English studies in UK, all paid with food, flights, everything. So for me, that was the main sign that I had to keep moving on that direction. See, one video made me win this. I said okay, this must be a sign. And then I went and I studied there and all this happened. And while I was there, I met people in the industry all of a sudden. So signs were appearing. And I had the chance to do some assistant work in one filming production company in Belfast, where I lived for half a year. So I was, all of a sudden I was in between of BBC studios, journalists, people, filmmakers, editors, all around in an office. And I was just trying to catch everything all of a sudden. but it was just to take the decision to say, okay, this is my moment. I have to move on. And then I remember quitting my job by phone from Melbourne to say my boss, look, I need to do this. And he knew that I was not happy with my current job. So he said, yeah, all the best, blah, blah, blah. So I did just the job with all my fears. Like it was just my heart on my hands, all my savings, and that was it. But I said, like, and that time I was 32 years old, and I said, okay, it has to be the time to do it, or I won't do ever. And that's what I did.
Yeah, no, that's really, really inspiring. And you say it all came just from one minute video which set everything up. It was basically, it was amazing that you took that opportunity. You took the plunge. You made you made it happen for yourself, which is a fantastic story. And were there any films or filmmakers that inspired you for your own projects, or that made you want to go into filmmaking? Anything from your childhood, or even later than that?
No, really. There was not like a particular person for me to jump into this. But my main motivation was what I wanted to tell about my country. That was the beginning. Because when I was living in Belfast and when I was meeting all these journalists and people, I was just asking them, okay, what do you know about Peru? Do you know my country? All these exchange chats. And most of them knew only a few things, and mostly the bad news. That was, like, okay, so you only know illegal mining, I don't know, drugs, that stuff. Like, of course, it's all over the news. But then I realized we have a lot of great stuff here that people don't show, and they only know the bad stuff. And in general, I think in Latin America. So when I came back from Europe after that experience, I was like, I have to do something so people know better things about my country and the people and the activities and everything. So that was the motivation who I said, okay, this is going to be my focus. And this is what I do until now.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so when you're doing what you do now, is there anything that sets you apart from the rest, in the sense that there's something that you don't do, something that maybe other filmmakers do that you wouldn't? Is there anything that you think is quite a common thing within the industry that you might avoid?
Yes. Going in the same direction, but or negative news about whatever happens in my country. I never accept those, even if they are important. I don't think that will add something that people already have read on news, and it also doesn't goes with my feelings. Like because I had the chance before to film like kind of like a negative story, but I really like it really hurts my feelings as a person. It's like I'm not good at handle negative stuff myself. So I try to avoid it for two reasons: not to give this feeling to people and to give this feeling to myself as well. And I respect all the other filmmakers that deal with these stories, and they are really warriors to go, I don't know, do wars, protests, and things like that. I have admiration for them because they're really strong to handle this. But myself, I don't do this because I don't feel good about it.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And when you're in the middle of a project, how do you measure your own success and maybe the success of the team that you're working with, if anyone? How do you measure that success while you're in the middle of something?
When I get the answers that I know that people wants to know about, and when people really is open, that I think that's the hardest part to find, when someone tells openly all they want to share with you. And for that, I think you have to be very empathetic with someone, because I have no other fixers from different other places, and to have an interview is not like, okay, ask questions and then you receive the answer, done. It's just to keep digging and digging, and even sometimes it's not related with the topic in that moment, but then you keep digging more and just asking more questions about their personal life, because that's something I do because I love it anyways. It's not for the answers I want to get. But at some points, it gets you to more information that you thought before. So when I have all this huge variety of information, and also they open to show you more than you expected, and that's for me, okay, that's a big thing. That's what I want, to have a real story, a real person, that is open to tell anything.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so that's obviously based around the middle when a project is in progress. How do you, once you've got a piece, you've made a film, you've made you've got a complete package, how do you then market your projects? How do you get as many eyes on your projects as you possibly can?
Like the people watch the projects. Well, it depends, because most of my projects are shared in different platforms for different channels. It's not for just one channel. I work with Dutch channel, with Germans, with Americans. So, I mean, every platform it has their own audience and different stories. I mean, someone are cultural, someone are more in the sustainable area projects. So they are shared for different audience. I don't really have one particular way, but I think while more variety of these positive stories I have online or in different platforms, I think that helps, to show what kind of works I do.
Definitely. And obviously you say you started when you were around the age of 32, which obviously some people start later than that, but a lot of people also start before that. And so my next question is, if you were starting over again, if you were starting right from the beginning, even before you were an architect, is there anything that you would do differently? Would you have gone into film straight away, or are you happy with how your career progressed and then led you into film?
I think I wish I have started earlier, uh, for two reasons. First, because I will have had more years to do this, and second, because my parents paid my career, which was not cheap, and it's actually something very, you know, unique in Peru. In general, in Latin American, studies are not free. So if you have the chance that your parents pay your career, you are a lucky one. So then in my end, to tell your parents that I quit architecture, they made a huge effort to pay my career, and then I won't use it. So yeah, I mean, I felt bad for many years about it. And of course, at the beginning, you don't earn much money being a filmmaker, or being also in the documentary area, which is worse because I don't do commercials. But I think it's just, to keep on your philosophy, what you want, that gets you in the way of success. That's what I believe.
Honestly, that's a really common answer that we get. It's I wish I started sooner. And to lead into the next question, what advice would you give to a student maybe that was starting out in film or wanted to start out in creating the same sorts of projects that you do?
Try everything, everything. Like, when I was doing self-taught myself, I was, doing audio, cameras, light, sequencing of storytelling. Like anything helps. Even if you make a video for your family for birthdays, it's just you have to train your brain how to think quicker, how to solve problems, because in filming anything can happen. Cables don't work, lights all of a sudden don't work, batteries, and you have to learn how to solve these problems. It's not just about how's the best technique, it's also to know how to run this industry. And yeah, I mean, that's what I will say. Try everything as you can, and with any equipment. It doesn't have to be the most expensive. Even with phones right now, you can create stuff, great things.
And for those same students or those same people that are looking to start out, is there any industry advice that you think is actually quite bad, quite damaging to people's either reputations or people's specific projects? Is there anything that you hear given out as advice, maybe, or information that you think should specifically be ignored?
There's one thing that particular bothers me sometimes. this is in the documentary industry. I don't know about the commercial, but because it's a documentary industry, some people or some crews or some channels, they still have this phrase that says, we don't pay for news, or we don't pay for the people to film people. That's I think it's an old school stuff. I was not there when that was created, but this is a thing that I still heard. And and for me, that's something that I wish it's wrong, because we at the end we are getting the story from the people we are interviewing. In any circumstances, of course, they are open and happy to show you wherever. They are not charging you; they won't do it. But from our side as a crew, I think it's our we own them. No, so thank you. It's not going to be a huge payment, but at least some economical retribution or a gift or something to say thank you and how much we appreciate their stories. And with most of the companies, I don't have problems with that because that's me or the fixer in the game who should tell this to the companies. Normally, I don't have problems with the companies, but I had a few or a couple of companies who were questioning this. And that was really annoying because I don't think that's fair. Because from the fixer until the director, the producer, the managers, everybody's getting money from a project. And it's not right that the person that we interview don't get any, retribution. That's my thinking.
No, that's completely fair. I completely get you. And so to lead on, to our the final section of the interview, what projects are you currently working on? Is there anything you can tell us about that isn't top secret, or what have you got in the pipeline?
Well, not top secret, but it's still on the cooking. Yeah, I am working on some projects for CDF channel, which is a German TV that is one of my clients. Also one in Alaska for a Dutch TV, which I am correspondent. And also a personal project that I filmed last year with two Dutch characters who were in Peru trying these plant medicines. And I'm working on the editing right now on, that's a personal thing that I just want to develop. I don't have to have always a platform already in advance, but I do sometimes breaks for me, sometimes break for channels. So this is what I have already under cooking.
Yeah, no, that's really, really interesting. And in those projects that you speak of, for the benefit of our audience, what's your specific role or involvement in those projects? Is it you're the on-screen talent? Are you behind the scenes? Are you doing the writing? Or is it really, honestly, everything?
Yeah, I am a particular case because, like in Peru, there is not big industry for filming and especially for documentaries. I think we are just a few people who do this. And I learned to be everything for a crew. I can do fixer when crews come. Actually, I'm also working with a German crew who might come, an American as well, who can come next year to make a project. So for them, I arrange logistics and stories. I do a lot of researching. This is one of my favorite parts. When I have to, look for what's the best I can show about people and stories and everything. So that's one part. Then fixing when they are here. Then I do also filming myself, for different channels with drone as well. And some editing, but not much. Just the first draft of some editings as well. And then for the Dutch channel, I am the correspondent also in front of the camera, but just a short part, just for the introduction. So a little of everything. That's what I said. Like, if you can manage different stuff, like especially documentaries, it's very helpful, to have all these different skills. So whenever this happens, you can help. Sometimes there were crews who hired me for being a fixer in Peru, and all of a sudden, the last character couldn't come on the last day they were here. They were gone to their country. And there's okay, Lizeth, you can film the last part. You can draw the last part and then send us the footage. So core. All solved. So that's really cool. I mean, I really love to be part of the whole project if I can, because I know, the people, the film in the industry, how how is the paperwork. Like, I mean, for me, it's fascinating to be in all this any part of the project.
Yeah, no, we again hear that quite a lot. There's so many enjoyable areas of documentaries and filmmaking. And you've mentioned a lot throughout this interview that you work for a lot of different people, and not only people, but a lot of different people in different countries. How did you get them as clients? How did you branch out even into wider nations?
I don't know. Really. They already, like, they all the time find me online and I just receive emails. I don't do much than just post my projects on my social media, on my website, and try to, reply any message when I see on Facebook or wherever they request something. And one thing I really like to do, and I do often, is to write advices for people. So sometimes they find me because they read my blog, and there's a lot of information that I share for free, just because it's really helpful to have it at hand, even if they decided to work this year or next year or whatever, but they already know. And something that I really, like, advise people is that try to work with local people, because for example, right now, if you search fixer in Peru, you're gonna find one huge company who cover most of the pages, as is the best company for fixers in Peru. And this company is not even in Peru. It's someone international that should hire Peruvians to do the job. And they don't pay, fair payments, and they don't do anything. It's not even like a coordination or teamwork. It's just, I sort of hire you and then you do the job. I charge for you and then you get less money. So it's not transparent. I always advise people, it's not necessary that it's me, but try to find local people so you know that this person's gonna reply for as Peruvian. But yeah. But then apart from that, I mean, normally people find me online, and I think what also helped is, like, I try to get recommendations, or not recommendations, but the reviews from my clients, and I post them online and I share them. So it's a sign that people can trust my work as well, But it's something that it flows. It's not that I have to do it all the time, but it's something that it flows.
Yeah, no, that's really, really interesting. I think that can be a real blocker for some people, is actually finding the people who are going to pay you to make the videos and make the documentaries and the films, if even if you're really, really good at it. And penultimate question from me, what
Okay.
challenges have you recently encountered on your well, when you're making films or documentaries? Has anything happened recently that jumps to mind that was a challenge?
Oh, challenge. Well, the challenge that is often is about the paperwork and the permits. That's the most difficult part. And I thought recently that Peru was really bad, but I was talking with people in Chile for a potential project, and that is even worse. So I mean, just to have a permit, you have to do it 3 months in advance to film in a place that even you will pay money, but you have to do 3 months. It's all the bureaucracy is very big in South America, and I think that's the challenging part. But apart from that, yeah, I think because in Latin America nothing works perfectly. I think we are well trained to solve problems when it happens.
That's probably the most positive thing about things not working too well. Um, it's been great to talk to you. Last question from me is, are there any specific projects that you're really proud of that maybe people could find on your social media or anywhere else that you'd like to promote in this video or interview?
And not really like a project. I think like most of them are in my website, like the different breaks I have done. Every break has a particular thing from different aspects. I mean, if you want to see what we best have in Peru, you can go to my website and you can see all the different cool stories and people and locations we have. because I put it there. I put in my web everything, and even the links where you can find my stories on my projects. What I feel, more happy about is like I'm getting what was my motivation from the beginning. I wanted this when I started like 7, 8 years ago, and now it's happening. And that for me is the best result I can have from all these years.
That's amazing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but your website, is it humanfilms.com?
Yeah, humana. Well, in Spanish, it's humana, and it's humana because human is English word, but human with the a at the end, it means female. So female human films.com.
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic. Lisa, thanks so much for speaking to me. It's been really, really interesting, and I wish you all the best in your future films.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reese. I was happy to share all this, and yeah, so we stay in touch in time.
We hope you enjoyed watching today's interview. This video is part of the Filmmaker interview series from Pizzazz. At Pizzazz, we're building a production ecosystem that helps you to get things done. To try it for free, visit pizzazz.io today. Thanks for watching.